Hello, here we are in the Garden of Paradise, and I'm sitting here with Paul Martin. Now, I've given you my little initial take on the general election, my little dissection, and now we're going to talk to Paul Martin. Now, I want to talk to Paul Martin because he's from Australia, right, the other side of the world. So, he's going to have a whole different kind of perspective on all this stuff that's happening here. To us Poms, right? That's what you call us, isn't it? Poms, yeah. And I wanted to kick off with, like, you've been here 4 months. You're Australian. What's your take, first of all, on politics in this country, and specifically this election and this surprise result? How do you view it?
That's a pretty broad question.
It is a broad question. Start broad, and then we'll go a little bit more under the layers.
Well, for me, politics in this country is no different to politics in my country. I mean, it's we have the same, the Labor here, Labor there. We've got the Conservatives here, Conservatives there. But for me, I don't buy into politics. To me, it's all just theatre and the illusion of choice.
Okay. So what about the shock result? Because we were a bit shocked by the result. Were you a bit shocked by the result? What did you think coming here?
I was.
How do the British people strike you?
Well, I don't really follow British politics. So I don't know how. I don't really know.
So am I right to be talking about this subject?
I don't really know how. I don't know. I haven't really tracked how the media has been. Trying to isolate and demonise and trivialise Jeremy Corbyn. To me, I just thought that Corbyn was the only credible politician on show. To me, Theresa May was completely unelectable. I don't see how any reasonable person could cast their vote.
Well, I find it interesting you're saying that you just thought she was completely unelectable, because the story that we were being fed by the media was completely opposite, that Jeremy Corbyn was unelectable and she was strong and stable. I'm sorry, I have to laugh at that, really. I mean, the thing is now, like everyone's saying now, I keep on the media again, they're saying, oh well, Labour fought a really good campaign. That's why they didn't win. I keep saying they won. They haven't won. They sort of nearly won, right? And actually, I was watching a little bit of it, and I was over at my friend's, and he was showing me little clips of interviews with Jeremy Corbyn, interviews with Diane Abbott, that were a bit like car crash TV. I mean, they were terrible. There was Jeremy Corbyn thrashing around trying to find some statistic or figure for Women's Hour. Diane Abbott, every time she was on TV, was like floundering, like something wrong with her. I don't know what. God bless her. I hope you're all right. But it's like, no, I don't know that it was Labour did such a brilliant campaign. It certainly passed me by if it did.
Well, politics is, the art of perception, and it's the art of deception. And you can dress up, the media can dress up, a dead chook like Theresa May and actually make her look good. And then you can take someone who's has a lifelong history of being a decent human being and representing the interests of humans, and they can make him look like a complete fucking idiot. Or like he's a commie, or Comrade Corbyn.
Well, my take on it is, he, like, for example, I saw him on Women's Hour faffing about trying to find some figures or whatever. I didn't actually mind that. I didn't mind that he was a little bit all over the place. Because guess what? Human beings are a bit all over the place. And we're not all slick, and we're not all polished, and we're not all got it to hand. Oh, whoops. Like, there you go. Case in point. Illustrating my point there. So I kind of like, yeah, exactly. I kind of like that. It was kind of real. So it didn't bother me. The slickness not there didn't bother me. Actually, I find a lack of slickness kind of appealing myself.
Yeah, personally, I think, I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure a lot of other people are kind of over slickness. We just had 8 years of not us here, but the world had 8 years of Barack Obama. And here's a man who came into power, looking like he'd promised everything, and he looked like a decent human being, but he was just a slick liar like his predecessors.
Was he a slick liar, or was the system just so entrenched and so corrupt that it was hard to put through anything that would really change anything?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Because I have to say, I had a bit of a shine for Barack Obama. I had a bit of a crush on him, actually. But,
I knew,
I
I
mean,
knew, I knew everyone would be disappointed because
yeah.
people had impossible expectations of him. I knew that he couldn't deliver everything he was saying, but I actually thought he would actually be a decent human being once he was
What
in.
made you indicate, what indicated to you that he wasn't a decent human
Well, I
being?
thought he'd be a decent human being in office, but actually, he simply became a George W. Bush with a whiter smile.
Okay, well, that sounds a bit
A t-
like
a t-
Tony Blair here.
Yeah, and Tony Blair was just another conservative, you know. I mean, inseparable from the
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
the Tories.
Do you know what? I fucking hated New Labour. Welcome, New Labour. It was like, what are you talking about? All we had was the Conservatives, and hey, the Conservatives, like, maybe with a little bit of dilution, maybe. And actually, maybe not, because we had this million people march against the Iraq War, and guess what? It was like, fuck you, we're going in there anyway.
Yeah.
And that was Tony Blair at the helm of the ship there. So I can never forgive that human being.
Well, Tony Blair, he probably came into politics with good intentions, but I think that the reasons that a person aspires for something, is one thing, but once you're actually there, the system changes you, and I think that the big difference between the Conservatives and Labor is that I think Labor politicians generally are well-intentioned people from the grassroots. They go in with good intentions, but they get corrupted, whereas the Tories are pretty much corrupted before they get there because they have no good intentions. They're simply only interested in the 1% or the 10%.
Okay, well, bearing that in mind, how's Corbyn going to fare if he does manage to get into power?
He will disappoint everyone.
Right.
He'll disappoint everyone,
You heard it here first.
and realistic people would understand that there's idealism and there's realism,
Hmm.
but what people don't realise is that realism is that there are very powerful corporate interests that are actually running the show. That governments no longer run the show. That it's but that's a deep subject.
Yeah, I know.
We
Well,
won't go there.
no, with that's not going. I did sort of touch on it in my little individual blog, saying that we need a little bit of redistribution. Well, not major. Don't worry. You can hold on to your billions, but just a little bit. Like you were talking about this actually to me. Starbucks and Google just paying some tax. Paying some tax. Because these guys really have got money. And it is about social responsibility, isn't it? I mean, we're responsible for ourselves, each other, social responsibility. When you've got that much money, right? I think it should kick in a bit. So there's reasons why they're not paying tax, and what are these reasons? And can we do something to change that?
There's a lot of social inequality and a lot of social disharmony that actually disadvantages the elite. I mean, the wealthy class could actually live, in less fear of losing what they have if people in general were not in so much need. And there's so much money that's locked away in Swiss bank accounts and elsewhere in tax havens that's not being used. There's no real benefit to money that's not being used. So if the people in general are being squeezed, and I mean, yeah, sure, it makes us easier to control and we have to work harder, but also means that people who do have things can't enjoy it in safety and peace because they're always worried about who's going to want to take it from them. So to me, the greed for money actually, a little bit of greed is okay, but the psychopathic levels of greed that we have, where if one person can own more money than he could possibly spend in 100 generations, and still looking to expand more and more. To me, this is the greatest form of the most destructive form of mental illness on the planet today, and these people are actually running the show.
Mm. Well, yeah, I think it's an addiction to power, addiction to money. I think when you get at that level, it's a bottomless hole and it cannot be filled. And unfortunately, you're right. I think these are the people running the show. So, is it possible to redress the imbalance a little bit? Is it possible? Is that just
Wh-
like a fantasy?
Well, when was the last time we had a revolution? There's been French Revolution. There's been I was reading something somewhere yesterday. There's been
Mhm,
revolutions in
mhm,
England.
mhm.
I don't know. I'd like to think we can do it without a revolution. I think it's going to take. I think it needs a revolution in consciousness, but it seems to me that human beings are so complacent that unless there's actually something cataclysmic or traumatic, you know, I don't know why people aren't waking up to the difficulties that society is actually
And
faced with.
well, perhaps they are.
Maybe they are.
Let's leave it at that and say perhaps they are. Perhaps this is a little indication that we're waking up, bit by bit. I really like to think that. I really like to think that. And I'm going to put my heart on that possibility. So thank you for joining me in this, yeah, a little interview here, digging into the general election, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And thank you so much for listening, if you are listening. And share it with your friends if you thought it was fun. Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot.